Jwwilliams funeral directors have been proudly serving the people of this community since 1918. Service is our motto. The poor, the rich, the middle class and all are given the best of care and attention at all times. You have the privilege to select what you want. In your time of need, contact the capable, the competent, and the dependable staff of the Jwwilliams Funeral Home who is genuinely concerned with your care. At Jwwilliams Funeral Home, you are aptly served by the proprietor, president, Deacon Arthur L. Parker, who continues the traditions and values set forth by the past president, Dr. Napoleon Williams. Your announcers for the Jwwilliams Funeral Home Sunday morning program are Deacon Arthur L. Parker, Reverend Isaac H. Owens, Mrs. Calandra Wilkerson Parker, Minister Frankie Harmon, Ms. Sandra Johnson, and Deacon Earl Clark, Jr.
Thank you, and good morning, friends. We come to you this morning to bring announcements, dedications, and songs. We certainly hope that your day may be brighter after listening to our program. The family of Mrs. Betty Jean Owens White of Cordele, Georgia. The family of United States Army Staff Sergeant Roger Fields, retired, of Arabi, Georgia. The family of Deacon George Whitehead Sr. of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Mr. Willie James McKenzie of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Mrs. Mitt Carol Carter Redding of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, formerly of Hatley, Georgia. The family of the infant Princeton Akari Jones of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Mr. Larry Ford of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Miss Eloise Timmons of Cordele, Georgia, would like to thank their many friends for the food, the flowers, the condolences, and all other expressions of sympathy and kindness shown to them during their hours of sorrow and bereavement during the past week. Mrs. Betty Jean Owens White, age 90, of 1116 Blackshear Road, Cordele, Georgia, died Thursday, December 19, 2024, at the home of her beloved daughter in Newman, Georgia. The funeral service for Mrs. Betty Jean Owens White was held Sunday, December 29, 2024, in the chapel of the Jwwilliams Funeral Home in Cordele, Georgia. The Reverend Dion Jones officiated. The eulogy was delivered by the Reverend W.W. Wilson, pastor of the New Oak Grove Baptist Church. The burial followed at the Sunnyside Cemetery in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include her loving and devoted children, Mrs. Barbara McEleen and her husband, Mr. Leroy McEleen of Lake City, South Carolina, Deaconess Yvonne James and her husband, Deacon Bobby James of Cordele, Georgia, Mr. David White of Cordele, Georgia, and Mr. Buford White and his wife, Mrs. Janet White of New Jersey. 19 beloved grandchildren, 36 great-grandchildren, her loving and devoted sisters, Mrs. Carrie May Salter of Pompano, Florida, and Mrs. Margaret Owens Key and her husband, Mr. Benny Key of Atlanta, Georgia. A beloved brother, Mr. Elijah Owens of Dublin, Georgia. A host host of devoted nieces and nephews, Mr. Silas Ford, Mr. Levi Holton and his wife, Mrs. Jacqueline Holton, and Mr. Terry White and his companion, Mrs. Emma Jean McKenzie, all of Cordele, Georgia. Survived Mrs. Betty Jean Owens White, age 90, of 1116 Blackshear Road, Cordele, Georgia. United States Army Staff Sergeant Roger Fields, retired, age 64, of 154 East 4th Street, Arabi, Georgia, died Monday, December 23, 2024, at his home in Arabi, Georgia. The funeral service for United States Army Staff Sergeant Roger Fields, retired, age 64, was held Sunday, December 29, 2024, in the sanctuary of the Little Rock Baptist Church in Arabi, Georgia. The pastor, Reverend Joseph Green, officiated. The eulogy was delivered by Bishop Arthur West. The burial with military honors followed at the Bethel Cemetery in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted children, Mr. Roger Lee Fields of New York, Miss Cassandra Marie Reese of Charlotte, North Carolina, Mr. Dante Fields of Texas, Miss Elisa Fields and Miss Nyla Ashley, both of Cordele, Georgia. One grandchild, a beloved and devoted sister, Mrs. Kay Fields Brown, and her husband, Mr. Walter Brown of Arabi, Georgia. His beloved brothers, Mr. Charlie Fields Jr. and his wife, Mrs. Mary Fields, and Mr. Harold Fields and his wife, Mrs. Irene Fields, both of Cordele, Georgia. Mr. Anthony Fields and his wife, Mrs. Sonia Fields of Thomasville, Georgia, and Mr. David Fields of Arabi, Georgia. A host of devoted nieces, nephews, cousins, to include Mrs. Deborah Walker, Mr. Kenneth Stiles, both of Arabi, Georgia, Mr. Jamal Fields, and Miss Keila Thomas of Cordele, Georgia. A host of other relatives and many sorrowing friends survive. United States Army Staff Sergeant Roger Fields, retired, age 64, of 154 East 4th Avenue, Arabi, Georgia. Deacon George Whitehead Sr., age 72, of 806 West 22nd Avenue, Cordele, Georgia, died Monday, December 23, 2024, at his residence in Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Deacon George Whitehead Sr., age 72, was held Monday, December 30th, in the sanctuary of his beloved Gethsemane Missionary Baptist Church in Cordele, Georgia. Reverend Cecil Strawder, pastor, his beloved cousin, the Reverend Jeff Wilson, pastor of the Odom Grove Baptist Church, officiated. The burial followed at the Bethel Cemetery in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted wife, Mrs. Artis Ann Whitehead of Cordele, Georgia. His loving and devoted children, Mr. George Whitehead Jr. and his wife, Mrs. Kenya Whitehead, and Miss Seneca Whitehead, both of Cordele, Georgia. Mr. Tomias Whitehead and his companion, Miss LaShawn Johnson of Warner Robins, Georgia. 17 loving grandchildren. 20 great-grandchildren. His loving and devoted sisters, Mrs. Jackie Brown and her husband, the Reverend Fred Brown, and Miss Betty Ann Whitehead, both of Cordele, Georgia. His sisters-in-law, Mrs. Ella Mae Davis and her husband, Mr. Larry Davis, Mrs. Lakeitha Whitehead and Evangelist Barbara Whitehead. His brothers-in-law, Mr. Marvin Brown, Mr. Denver Brown, and Mr. Curtis Ludden, Sr., a host of devoted nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Deacon George Whitehead, Sr., age 72, of 806 West 22nd Avenue, Cordele, Georgia. Mr. Willie James McKenzie, better known as Jwwilliams, age 53, of 302 West 22nd Avenue, Cordele, Georgia, died Monday, December 23rd, 2024, at the Emory St. Joseph Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Willie James McKenzie, age 53, was held Friday, January 3rd, in the chapel of the Jwwilliams Funeral Home in Cordele, Georgia. The Reverend Jeff Wilson, pastor of the Odom Grove Baptist Church, officiated. The burial followed at the Bethel Cemetery in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted wife, Mrs. Fana Rogers McKenzie of Cordele, Georgia, his loving and devoted children, Miss Ernance McKenzie and her companion, Mr. Orrin Jackson, Mr. Marn McKenzie, and Kendall McKenzie, all of Cordele, Georgia. 2 adored grandchildren, his loving and devoted mother, Mrs. Emma Jean McKenzie, and her companion, Mr. Terry White of Cordele, Georgia. His beloved sisters, Mrs. Norma Daniels and her husband, Mr. Thad Daniels of Cordele, Georgia. Mrs. Barbara Monroe and her husband, Mr. Gary Monroe of Albany, Georgia. Miss Charity McKenzie of Warner Robins, Georgia. Mrs. Shonda Harris Jackson and Mrs. Regina Harris Dean and her husband, Mr. James Dean, both of Cordele, Georgia. Miss LaShonda Walker of Albany, Georgia. His beloved brothers, Mr. Anthony McKenzie and his wife, Mrs. Yolanda McKenzie, and Mr. Terry McKenzie, both of Cordele, Georgia. His father-in-law, Deacon Jesse Rogers, and his wife, Mrs. Helen Rogers of Cordele, Georgia. His sister-in-law, Miss Stacy Rogers of Thomasville, Georgia. His brother-in-law, Mr. Jeffrey Rogers, and his companion, Miss Mary Gray of Cordele, Georgia. A host of beloved nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends, to include Mr. Kelvin Rawls and the Chris County Recreation Department staff, survived Mr. Willie James McKenzie, better known as Jwwilliams, age 53, of 302 West 22nd Avenue, Cordele, Georgia. Mrs. Mitt Carol Carter Redding, age 81, of 3120 Northwest 4th Place, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, formerly of Hatley, Georgia, died Thursday, December 19, 2024, at the Broward General Hospital in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The funeral service for Mrs. Mitt Carol Carter Redding, age 81, was held Saturday, January 4th, in the chapel of the Jwwilliams Funeral Home in Cordele, Georgia. Her beloved nephew, Bishop George Westbrook, officiated. The burial followed at the Pleasant Hill Baptist Church Cemetery, Hatley Community, Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include her loving and devoted children, Miss Brenda Redding Brown and Mr. Lorenzo M.C. Redding of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Two beloved grandchildren, Mr. Israel Brown and Mr. Keith Brown, both of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. 10 beloved great-grandchildren, her loving sisters, Mother Martha Ruth Westbrook of Araby, Georgia, and Mother Willie Mae Leary of Hatley, Georgia. A beloved brother, Mr. William Carter of Cordele, Georgia. A host of nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Mrs. Mitt Carol Carter Redding, age 81, of 3120 Northwest 4th Place, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, formerly of Hatley, Georgia. The infant Princeton Akari Jones, age 3 months, of 604 Blackshear Road, Cordele, Georgia, died Wednesday, December 25th, 2024, at the Chris Regional Hospital in Cordele, Georgia. The graveside funeral service for the infant Princeton Akari Jones, age 3 months, was held Saturday, January 4th, at the Bethel Cemetery in Cordele, Georgia. The Reverend Isaac H. Owens, pastor of the Mount Calvary Baptist Church, officiated. Survivors include his loving and devoted parents, Miss Telexa Hamilton and Mr. V. Jones, his beloved sibling Harmony Hamilton, Kason Jones, and Quivius Jones, Creticia Anderson, DeKevius Porter, Adasia Pickens, Jasmine Williams, and DeQuavian Jones, and Travius Holmes. His grandparents, Mrs. Mashanda Hamilton of Ohio, Mr. Derek Ray and his wife, Mrs. Pamela Ray of Cordele, Georgia, and Miss Gloria Jones of Cordele, Georgia. His aunts and uncles, Mr. Devakis Hamilton and his wife, Deja Hamilton of Atlanta, Georgia, Miss Shadeja Mobley of Cordele, Georgia, Miss Kennedy Ray of Cordele, Georgia, Miss Caitlin Ray of Cordele, Georgia, Mr. Monte Ray of Cordele, Georgia, Miss Shakori Hamilton of Ohio, and Miss Aaliyah Ray of Houston, Texas, and Miss Colia Jones of Warner Robins, Georgia, and a host of other relatives survived the infant Princeton Akari Jones, age 3 months, of 604 Blackshear Road, Cordele, Georgia. Mr. Larry Ford, age 65, of 1114 Blackshear Road, Cordele, Georgia, died Saturday, December 28, 2024, at his residence in Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Larry Ford, age 65, was held Saturday, January 4th, in the chapel of the Jwwilliams Funeral Home in Cordele, Georgia. The Reverend Isaac H. Owens, pastor of the Mount Calvary Baptist Church, officiated. The burial followed at the Westview Cemetery in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted children, Mrs. Latoya Ray and her husband, Mr. Cozy Ray of Kathleen, Georgia, and Mr. Larry Ford of Cordele, Georgia. 6 beloved grandchildren, his loving and devoted mother, Mrs. Annie Bell Ford Heath of Brooklyn, New York, his beloved sister, Mrs. Pinky Williams, and her husband, Mr. Benjamin Williams of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, a beloved aunt, Mrs. Omi Lee Ford of Atlanta, Georgia, his special friend and mother of his children, Miss Lois Wedges of Cordele, Georgia, a devoted cousins, Miss Gayla Bleach and her husband, Mr. James Bleach, Mr. Ernest Lee Neal, Miss Janice Bush, Miss Geraldine Ford, Mrs. Maddie Pope and her husband, Mr. Arthur Pope, and Mrs. Annie Johnson and her husband, Elder Clarence Johnson, all of Cordele, Georgia. His godson, Mr. Ira Coley Jr. of Cordele, Georgia. A special daughter, Miss Sierra Evans of Cordele, Georgia. His close friends, Mr. Larry Applin, Mr. Jackie Williamson, Mr. Jack Reynolds, and Mr. Willie Blunt, all of Cordele, Georgia. A host of other relatives and many sorrowing friends survive. Mr. Larry Ford, age 65, of 1114 Blackshear Road, Cordele, Georgia. Miss Eloise Timmons, age 65, of a 1532 East 20th Avenue, Cordele, Georgia, died Monday, December 23rd, 2024, at Atrium Health in Macon, Georgia. The remains were cremated. Survivors include her loving and devoted children, Mr. Jason Timmons and his wife, Mrs. Boucher Timmons of Unadilla, Georgia, and Miss Mary Timmons of Cordele, Georgia. 2 beloved grandchildren, her beloved brothers, Mr. Floyd Timmons and his wife, Mrs. Deborah Timmons of Abbeville, Georgia, and Mr. Joseph Timmons of Rochelle, Georgia. A host of nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many sorrowing friends survive. Miss Eloise Timmons, age 65, of 1532 East 20th Avenue, Cordele, Georgia. Again, the family of Mrs. Betty Jean Owens White of Cordele, Georgia. The family of United States Army Staff Sergeant Roger Fields, retired, of Araby, Georgia. The family of Deacon George Whitehead Sr. of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Mr. Willie James McKenzie of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Mrs. Mint Carol Carter Redding of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, formerly of Hatley, Georgia. The family of the infant Princeton Akari Jones of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Mr. Larry Ford of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Miss Eloise Timmons of Cordele, Georgia, would like to thank their many friends for all of the many kindnesses shown to them during their hours of sorrow and bereavement during the past week. May God bless each of you is their prayer. Jwwilliams funeral directors serving Cordele and Vienna were in charge of each of these arrangements during the past week. And now it is certainly with the deepest regret that we make the following announcement. Mr. Franklin Freeman Jr., age 68, of 29 2nd Street, Pitts, Georgia, died Wednesday, January 1st, at the Chris Regional Hospital in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted wife, Mrs. Lolita Trotman Freeman of Pitts, Georgia, his loving and devoted children, Mr. Nathan Freeman and his wife, Mrs. Melissa Freeman of Fort Mitchell, Alabama, Mrs. Shanika Nelson and her husband, Mr. Dwight Nelson of Cordele, Georgia. 7 beloved grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren, a beloved brother, Mr. Anthony Freeman of Rochelle, Georgia, his beloved aunts and uncle, Mr. John Scott Grays and Miss Maddie Love, both of Rochelle, Georgia, and Miss Peggy Moore of Ashburn, Georgia. A host of beloved nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends, to include Mr. Ronnie Cheese and Mr. Hollis McAdoo, both of Pitts, Georgia, survived Mr. Franklin Freeman Jr., age 68, of 29 2nd Street, Pitts, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Franklin Freeman Jr., age 68, will be held today, Sunday, January 5th, at 2 p.m. in the sanctuary of the Pine City Baptist Church in Rochelle, Georgia. The pastor, Reverend Ernest Weaver, will officiate. The burial will follow in the churchyard cemetery. Deacon Preston Holmes Jr., age 101, of 170 Pate Avenue, Ashburn, Georgia, died Monday, December 30th, 2024, at his residence in Ashburn, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted children, Miss Patricia Horn, Miss Edith Holmes Wilson and her husband, Mr. Leroy Wilson, and Mr. John Holmes and his wife, Mrs. Mashonda Holmes, all of Ashburn, Georgia. Mr. Gerald Holmes and his wife, Mrs. Dorothy Holmes, of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. 18 beloved grandchildren, 35 great-grandchildren, a beloved sister, Miss Carrie Spears of Atlanta, Georgia, a host of nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Deacon Preston Holmes Jr., age 101, of 170 Pate Avenue, Ashburn, Georgia. The funeral service for Deacon Preston Holmes Jr., age 101, will be held Monday, January 6th at 11 a.m. in the sanctuary of the Friendship Baptist Church in Ashburn, Georgia. The Reverend Jerry Lewis will officiate. The eulogy will be delivered by the pastor, Reverend Marvin Cuffey. The burial will follow at the Westview Memorial Gardens in Ashburn, Georgia. Mrs. Connie E. Shepard, age 66, of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, formerly of Americus, Georgia, died Monday, December 23rd, 2024, in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Survivors include her loving and devoted husband, Mr. Larry Shepard of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Her loving and devoted children, Mr. Charles Hunt of Albany, Georgia, and Mr. Montreal Shepard and his wife, Mrs. Mackenzie Shepard of Jacksonville, Florida. 15 beloved grandchildren, 15 great-grandchildren, a beloved sister, Mrs. Catherine Hill, and her husband, Mr. Warren Hill of Atlanta, Georgia, a beloved brother, Mr. Johnny Hopkins of Americus, Georgia, a host of other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Mrs. Connie E. Shepard, age 66, of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, formerly of Americus, Georgia. The funeral service for Mrs. Connie E. Shepard, age 66, will be held Saturday, January 11th at 10 a.m. in the sanctuary of the Friendship Baptist Church in Americus, Georgia. Bishop Melvin McCluster, pastor. The burial will follow at Staley Memorial Garden in Americus, Georgia. The public visitation will be Friday, January 10th from 1 to 5 p.m. at the Jwwilliams Funeral Home. Miss Estelle Williams, age 80, of New Rochelle, New York, died Saturday, December 28, 2024, at the New Jewish Home, Sarah Newman, in New York. Survivors include her loving and devoted grandchildren, Mr. Roger Dean of Richmond, Virginia, Mr. Jonathan Redd of Rochelle, New York, and Miss Cheyenne Williams Smith. A host of nieces, nephews, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Miss Estelle Williams, age 80, of New Rochelle, New York, formerly of Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Miss Estelle Williams, age 80, will be announced at a later date, pending the completion of the arrangement. The Jwwilliams funeral directors serving Cordele and Vienna are in charge of each of these arrangements during this week. Friends, that conclude our funeral notices for this morning. As always, we do remind you concerning our pre-funeral arrangements planning available at the Jwwilliams Funeral Home, with packages available with a single pay, a 5-year pay, a 10-year pay, available at the Jwwilliams Funeral Home.
And now for our announcements. The New Poplar Spring Baptist Church of Lineville will host a leadership workshop on Saturday, January 11th. Ms. Loria Reed of the House of Hope Atlanta will be the presenter. Refreshments will be served and everyone has a cordial invitation to attend. Pastor Johnny Dean, pastor, teacher. You're cordially invited to worship at the Greater Gum Creek Baptist Church during their annual Family and Friends Day service, which will be observed on Sunday, January 12th, beginning at 10:30 a.m. Reverend Joseph Hoggebrook is the pastor. The new William Road Baptist Church, Slade Road in Cordele, 29th church anniversary and the 8th anniversary of the pastor, Reverend Nikita Lester, will be on Wednesday, January 15th, beginning at 7 o'clock p.m. with the Old Grove Baptist Church and Pastor Reverend Jeff Wilson. Thursday, January 16th at 7 o'clock p.m. with the Emmanuel Baptist Church and Pastor Reverend Gregory Williams. The anniversary will climax on Sunday, January 19th at 2 o'clock p.m. with the St. James and Crossroad Baptist Church and Reverend Nelson Maynard in charge of the service. Dinner will be served. Sister Linda Maddox, Secretary, Mother Gradine Ford, Church Mother, Deacon Winfred Green, Chairman of Deacons, Reverend Nikita Lester is the pastor. You're cordially invited to worship with the Greater Mars Tabernacle Baptist Church today. Worship service for Sunday school begins at 9 o'clock a.m. Sunday school worship service begins at 9:30 a.m. The Greater Mars Tabernacle Baptist Church extends a cordial invitation for each of you to come out and fellowship with them on Thursday, January the 9th at 7 o'clock p.m. during this annual one-night winter revival. The guest revivalists will be Reverend Terrell Carter, pastor of the Friendship Baptist Church of Osterfield, Georgia. Everyone has a cordial invitation to attend and be a part of this worship service. We're at the Greater Mars Tabernacle Baptist Church. Mother Mary Henderson, Church Mother, Deacon Arthur L. Parker, Chairman of Deacons, Dr. K.M. Williams is the pastor. You're cordially invited to worship at the Gethsemane Baptist Church today. Worship service begins at 10:30 a.m. Deacon Johnny Wilson, Chairman of Deacons, Reverend Cecil Strawder is the pastor. The New Oak Grove Baptist Church extends a cordial invitation for you to worship with them each Sunday, with Sunday school beginning at 9:15 a.m. and worship service at 10 o'clock a.m. Deacon Alonzo Jones, Chairman, Reverend W.W. Wilson is the pastor. You're cordially invited to worship at the Greater Gum Creek Baptist Church each Sunday, with Sunday school with worship service beginning at 10:30 a.m. Mother Norma Solomon, Church Mother, Deacon Zachary Fields, Chairman of Deacons, Reverend Joseph Hagerbrook is the pastor. The St. Paul Presbyterian Church extends a cordial invitation for everyone to worship with them today during this worship service, which begins at 11 o'clock a.m. Sister Ola Outlaw, Clerk of Sessions, Pastor Owita Hageman is the pastor. The Beautiful Zion Baptist Church invites you to worship with them this morning during this worship service, which begins at 11 o'clock a.m. Mother Donna Mae Childs, Church Mother, Reverend Lorinda Ray is the pastor. You have a cordial invitation to worship at the Mount Olive Baptist Church of Warwick. Worship Sunday school begins at 9 o'clock a.m. Worship service at 10 o'clock a.m. Mother Willie Mae Walker, Church Mother, Deacon Jimmy Fagan, Chairman of Deacons, Bishop Jerome Milton is the pastor. The Emmanuel Baptist Church invites everyone to worship with them today. Sunday school begins at 10 o'clock a.m. Worship service at 11:15 a.m. Bible study is held each Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Mother William McGill, Church Mother, Reverend Gregory Williams is the pastor. The New William Road Baptist Church invites everyone to worship with them today. Worship service begins at 11 o'clock a.m. Deacon Winfred Green, Chairman of Deacons, Mother Gradine Ford, Church Mother, Reverend Nikita Lester is the pastor. You're cordially invited to worship at the Mount Calvary Baptist Church today. Sunday school begins at 9:45 a.m. Worship service at 10:45 a.m. Everyone has a cordial invitation to attend the annual Family Day service, which will be held on Sunday, January the 19th, during the morning worship service. Dr. Shakidra Little Harris will be the guest speaker, and everyone has a cordial invitation to attend. We would also like to remind all of our friends in our listening area that you may join us each Sunday morning here at the TV station for our Sunday morning program, and you may also watch us on our Facebook and YouTube channels. And beginning this morning, which has started this morning at 7:30 a.m., you may listen to us on WDEC Radio 94.7 on your radio dial as you're driving with our J.W. Williams Funeral Home Sunday morning program. Tune in each Sunday morning at 7:30 a.m. on WDEC, and you may continue to watch us each Sunday morning at 7 o'clock a.m. here on the TV station. We remind you that if you have announcements that you would like for us to share on our program, that you may get them to us any day, Monday through Saturday, up until 12 o'clock noon. You may fax them to us at 229-273-5111, or you may email them to us at info at jwwilliams.com. That's info at jwwilliams.com. And as always, you may drop them by the funeral home. We thank you so much. That concludes our announcements for this morning.
In loving memory of Miss Gloria Jean Kears, who has celebrated her birthday January 2nd, dedication requested by her beloved children, grandchildren, the Collins and Kears family. In loving memory of Mr. Xavier Johnson, also known as Trend, who would have celebrated his birthday January 3rd, dedication requested by his beloved mother, Mrs. Carolyn Bill Thomas, his twin sister, Miss Benika Johnson, and the entire Bill family. In loving memory of Mr. Willie James Felton, also known as Toot, who would have celebrated his birthday January 4th, dedication requested by his beloved sibling and the entire Kears family. In loving memory of Mr. Henry Jake Burden, who departed this life January 4th, 2007, dedication requested by the entire family. In loving memory of Ms. Edwina Carter, who was celebrated her birthday January 4th, dedication requested by the family. In loving memory of Mother Ida Bell Patrick, who departed this life January 4th, 2023, dedication requested by the Patrick and Wellens family. In loving memory of Deacon Henry King Jr. of the Gethsemane Missionary Baptist Church, who departed this life January 4th, 2024, and would have celebrated his birthday January 27th. Dedication requested by his beloved brothers and sisters, the entire King and Rogers family, and all of the members of the Gethsemane Missionary Baptist Church, where he served so faithfully. In loving memory of Miss Priscilla Cheeks, who departed this life January 6, 2018, dedication requested by the Williams and Cheeks family. In loving memory of Mrs. Mildred Swanson, who departed this life January 6, 2001, dedication requested by her beloved daughter, Miss Pam Collier, and the entire family. In loving memory of Mr. James Rogers, who would have celebrated his birthday January 8th and departed this life January 23rd, 2018. Dedication requested by his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, the Rogers and Telfair family. In loving memory of Mr. George Leon Montford, who departed this life January 8th, 2004, dedication requested by his beloved wife, Mrs. Juanita Montford, the children, the grandchildren, and the entire family. In loving memory of Mrs. Verna Pace, who would have celebrated her birthday January 8th, dedication requested by the family. In loving memory of Deacon Albert Montfrey, who departed this life January 9th, 2001, dedication requested by the Montfrey and Manning family. In loving memory of Mr. Ernest and Mrs. Emma McClendon, who both would have celebrated birthdays on January 9th, dedication requested by the entire family. In loving memory of Mrs. Lena Ray, who departed this life January 9th, 1998, dedication requested by the family. In loving memory of Mrs. Vera Curlin, who departed this life January 9th, 1998, dedication requested by the family. In loving memory of Mother Annie Beal, also known as Baby Doll, who departed this life, dedication requested by her children, grandchildren, and the entire Beal and Harris family. Gone but not forgotten. Our first selection this morning is dedicated to the following. Happy birthday to Mr. Keith and Mrs. Teresa Wright, who celebrated their anniversary Saturday, January 4th, and also happy birthday to Mrs. Teresa Wright, who celebrated her birthday on January 4th, dedication requested by the entire family. Happy birthday, Fig, and many, many more. Happy 5th anniversary to Mr. Henry and Miss Lily Fox, who will celebrate their anniversary Wednesday, January 8th, dedication requested by the family. Happy birthday to Miss Shonda Harris Jackson, who celebrated her birthday Wednesday, January 1st, dedication requested by her children, grandchildren, and the entire Johnson family. Happy birthday, Shonda, and many, many more. Happy birthday to Miss Benika Johnson, who celebrated her birthday Friday, January 3rd, dedication requested by her beloved mother, Mrs. Carolyn Beal Thomas, and the entire family. Happy birthday to Miss Kyla Smith, who is celebrating her birthday today. Dedication requested by her parents, her grandparents, the entire Smith, Kinder, and Harmon family. Happy birthday, Kylie, and many, many more. Happy birthday to Mrs. Emma Jean Mobley, who is celebrating her birthday today, January 5th. Dedication requested by her beloved sister, Mrs. Carolyn Beal Thomas, and the entire Beal family. Happy birthday to our own Mrs. Aletha Askew, church clerk and trustee of the New Oak Grove Baptist Church, who will celebrate her birthday Wednesday, January 8th. Dedication comes from her family and the New Oak Grove Baptist Church and the staff of the Jwwilliams Funeral Home. Also says happy birthday to Mrs. Aletha Askew on January 8th. Happy birthday to Mrs. Kimberly Cross Williams, who will celebrate her birthday Thursday, January 9th. Dedication requested by Mrs. Carolyn Thomas and the entire Beal family. Special birthday wishes goes out to Mrs. Dorothy Rose Jones, who will celebrate her birthday Thursday, January 9th. Dedication requested by her children, grandchildren, and the entire Jones family and the staff of the Jwwilliams Funeral Home. Also, happy birthday to Miss Dorothy Rose Jones on Thursday, January 9th. Happy birthday to Deacon William Durham and his twin brother, Mr. Walter Durham, who will celebrate that birthday on Thursday, January 9th. Dedication requested by the entire family. Happy birthday to Mrs. Carolyn Beal, who will celebrate her birthday Saturday, January 11th. Dedication requested by the Beal family. And due to the large number of announcements this morning, I do know you understand why we'll not be able to get around to our many dedications, but do remember that each and every Sunday morning our program is dedicated to each of you who listen to our program. It is certainly with the deepest regret that we make the following announcement. Mr. Franklin Freeman Jr., age 68, of 29 2nd Street, Pitts, Georgia, died Wednesday, January 1st, at the Chris Regional Hospital in Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Franklin Freeman Jr., age 68, will be held today, Sunday, January 5th, at 2 p.m. in the sanctuary of the Pine City Baptist Church in Rochelle, Georgia. The pastor, Reverend Ernest Weaver will officiate. The burial will follow in the churchyard cemetery. Deacon Preston Holmes Jr., age 101, of 170 Pate Avenue, Ashburn, Georgia, died Monday, December 30th, 2024, at his residence in Ashburn, Georgia. The funeral service for Deacon Preston Holmes Jr., age 101, will be held Monday, January 6th at 11 a.m. in the sanctuary of the Friendship Baptist Church in Ashburn, Georgia. Reverend Jerry Lewis will officiate. The eulogy will be delivered by the Reverend Marvin Cuffey, pastor of the Friendship Baptist Church. The burial will follow at the Westview Memorial Garden in Ashburn, Georgia. Mrs. Connie E. Shepherd, age 66, of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, formerly of Americus, Georgia, died Monday, December 23rd, 2024, in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The funeral service for Mrs. Connie E. Shepherd, age 66, will be held Saturday, January 11th at 10 a.m. in the sanctuary of the Friendship Baptist Church in Americus, Georgia. Bishop Melvin McCluster, pastor. The burial will follow at Staley Memorial Garden in Americus, Georgia. The public visitation will be Friday, January 10th from 1 until 5 p.m. at the Jwwilliams Funeral Home. Miss Estelle Williams, age 80, of New Rochelle, New York, died Saturday, December 28, 2024, at the New Jewish Home Sarah Newman in New York. The funeral service for Miss Estelle Williams will be announced at a later date, pending the completion of the arrangements. The Jwwilliams funeral directors, serving Cordele and Vienna, are in charge of each of these arrangements during this week. Our program this morning is dedicated to the bereaved families whose loved ones were laid to rest during the past week. The family of Mrs. Betty Jean Owens White of Cordele, Georgia. The family of United States Army Staff Sergeant Roger Fields, retired, of Araby, Georgia. The family of Deacon George Whitehead Sr. of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Mr. Willie James McKenzie of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Mrs. Mint Carol Carter Redding of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, formerly of Hatley, Georgia. The family of the infant Princeton Akari Jones of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Mr. Larry Ford of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Miss Eloise Timmons of Cordele, Georgia. This selection is dedicated to the bereaved families whose loved ones will be laid to rest during this week. The family of Mr. Franklin Freeman Jr. of Rochelle, Georgia. The family of Deacon Preston Holmes Jr. of Ashburn, Georgia. The family of Mrs. Connie E. Shepherd of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and Americus, Georgia. The family of Miss Estelle Williams of New Rochelle, New York, formerly of Cordele, Georgia. This selection is dedicated to all of the sick and shut-in, to all patients in the local and surrounding hospitals, nursing homes, and rehabilitation centers, to our beloved ministers and their devoted family members, to all retired educators, to the men and women serving in our armed forces, both stateside and abroad, to all veterans, and to everyone to everyone who listens to our program on each Sunday morning. It's a pleasure for us to bring it to you this first Sunday in January 2025. Our program goes out in memory of our past president, Dr. Napoleon Williams, to my wife, Mrs. Calandra Wilkerson Parker, to my son, Jai Wilkerson Parker. This selection goes out to my brother, retired Chief Master Sergeant Norman F. Dexter, and his wife, Dr. Gwendolyn Maxine Dexter, and our grandson, Noble. Goes out to my sister, Mrs. Patsy Jackson, and her husband, Mr. Jim Jackson of Cordele, Georgia. This selection goes out to my nephew, Deacon Kenneth Smith, program chairman of the Greater Morris Tabernacle Baptist Church. Goes out to our pastor, Dr. K.M. Williams, pastor of the Greater Morris Tabernacle Baptist Church and moderator of the Gum Creek Missionary Baptist Association, to his wife, Sister Kathy Williams, and the entire Williams family. This selection goes out to our friend and brother of long standing, the Reverend Johnny Dean, pastor of the New Poplar Springs Baptist Church of Byronville, Georgia. Goes out to our brother, Deacon Jimmy Charles Montfrey, and his wife, Sister Carol Montfrey, and the entire Montfrey family, Deacon and Mrs. Sam Montfrey and family. Goes out to our beloved Mrs. Easter May Sanders and family, and to Mr. Cleveland R. Lemon, oldest staff member of the Jwwilliams Funeral Home. And goes out to each and everyone who listens to our program on each Sunday morning. It's a pleasure for us to bring it to you. God bless you.
There's so many wonderful things. Now, you may not be able to do that fast kind of churching, but can we do that little slow kind of church rock? Rock right here like this. Y'all don't know how to do the two-step. Come on. Some of y'all ain't moving yet. Come on. Clap your hands in this. Come on. Come on, bring those hands in this. Y'all ready to have church tonight? There's so many wonderful things about Jesus. Can't tell them all. There are so many wonderful things about Jesus. Come on, y'all, let's have church tonight. There are so many wonderful things about you. Come on, choir. There are so many wonderful things about Jesus. So many wonderful things.
Thank you for joining us this morning. We hope you've enjoyed our program. Tune in again on next Sunday morning. And remember, in your time of need, contact the competent, capable, and dependable staff at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home.
Some of these days.